ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिः स्थिरैरङ्गैर्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति नः इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नः तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो अन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाच इमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांस्तहस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं लसतु श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थेन्दुर्नो हृदम्बरे यद्वचश्चन्द्रिका स्वान्तसन्तापं विनिकृन्तति पदवाक्यप्रमाणज्ञान् प्रणम्य शिरसा गुरून् व्याकरिष्ये यथा भूतं विष्णुतत्त्वविनिर्णयम्. So, good morning, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon for folks who have joined for the 36th session of Mundaka Upanishad. So, where were we? We are in the second Mundaka, Dvitiya Khandaha. About fortnight ago, we were doing a very, very important verse. So let's run through these verses again. Avihi sannihitam guhacharam nama mahatpadam atra etat arpitam ejat pranat nimishat cha yad etat janata sadasad varenyam param vijnanad yad varishtam prajananam यदाचिमत् यद् अनुभ्यो अनुः च यस्मिन् लोकाः निहिताः लोकिनश्च तदेतद् अक्षरं ब्रह्म स प्राणः तदु वाङ् मनः तदेतत् सत्यं तदमृतं तद् वेद्धव्यं सौम्य विद्धि धनुर्गृहीत्वा औपनिषदं महास्त्रं शरं हि उपासा सन्ददीत आयम्य तद्भावगतेन चेतसा लक्ष्यं तदेव अक्षरं सौम्य विद्धि प्रणवो धनुः शरो हि आत्मा ब्रह्मतल्लक्ष्यमुच्यते अप्रमत्तेन वेद्धव्यं शरवत्तन्मयो भवेत् यस्मिन् द्यौ पृथिवी च अन्तरिक्षम् ओतं मनः सह प्राणैश्च सर्वैः तम् एव एकं जानत आत्मानम् अन्या वाचो विमुञ्चत अमृतस्य एष सेतुः. So that is where we left about a fortnight ago. Yasmin dyau prithvi cha antariksham otam manah sah praneshcha sarvaihi tameva ekam janata atmanam anya vacho vimunchata amrutasya esha setuhu. This is a very, very, very popular verse of Mundaka Upanishad. Worth memorizing because it's almost a summary of all the Vedantic philosophy. Okay, so in the three verses, what Angirasa has taught Shuanaka is that you got to know your Antaryamin. Yeah, that is the fundamental. We got to know our Antaryamin. Forget about those folks who don't even think that there is an Antaryamin. Yeah, but this is directed at those mumukshus who are interested in knowing this Antaryamin who is inside the Jiva. Okay, and to know what is the process. So we have done this over 3 or 4 weeks where we understood what is paroksha jnana, what is aparoksha jnana. Our aim should be to hit that aparoksha jnana. Yeah. Whatever we are doing at this point is paroksha jnana, but it is individual sadhana. We make our own, it is our own transaction with our antaryamin. What the transaction is going to be is unique to each one of us, but that is the transaction that we need to do to understand and know this Antaryamin. And Angirasa here talks about this Dhyana Yuddha, which is the transaction that we have, because it's a tough game. Yeah, to know this Antaryamin is not easy business. Some folks think it's a very easy business, but actually the Vedas tell us that it is very, very difficult business. Katha Upanishad says, Kshurasya Daraha. Okay. You are walking on a razor edge. It is that difficult. You have to be careful. If you slip or you put more, either you exert more pressure, your feet is going to get cut. Or if you slip, you're going to fall down. It's like walking on a sharp razor. And similarly here, Angirasa says That knowledge of the Antaryamin is like a Dhyana Yuddha, where you're using this Upanishad as this bow and you're sharpening your mind with what? With the Shravana, Manana, and Dhyana, and you're using this bow and you're hitting this target, which target is the Antaryamin. So to hit the target, you have to focus and aim very, very carefully. And if we don't aim carefully, the target is going to be missed. And that is what Angirasa says, that this is very, you have to be very focused here. Your mind has to be sharpened with Shastra Abhyasa. Okay, study the Vedas and all the 7 primary scriptures and all the others that concur with the primary 7 scriptures. That is the only route to have this Paroksha Jnana, which ultimately should lead you on to Aparoksha Jnana, where what happens? Pranavo Dhanuhu. So there that your Jiva Swabhava itself focuses on the Antaryamin which is inside. Okay, so that asampragnata sthiti becomes very, very interesting here. Yeah, so that is what we did a few weeks ago. Then yasmin dhyau prithvi. Then what Angirasa said, yes, it's very good to have a deep concentration and focus on your antaryamin. Who is this Antaryamin? It talks about next verse reminds us. That next verse reminds us of the controllership of this Paramatma, this controllership of this Akshara Tattva, which is everywhere and it is actually controlling all that we are doing. What is it that it is everywhere? Yasmin Dhyau Prithvicha Antariksham Otam Manaha Saha Pranaishta Sarvaihi tam eva ekam janata atmanam anyavacho vimunchata amrutasya esha setuhu. Okay, so this entity is everywhere. It is holding this Dhyau, Prithvi, and the Antariksham together. This entity is also holding and controlling your mind and also all your indriyas. And every aspect of your bodily functions is under the control of this Paramatma who is inside you. That primary being, no. No, just that primary being. That is all you need to know. And that was the question of our Angir of Shuanaka, if you remember the first Mundaka, he said, what is it that I need to know, knowing which means that I have known everything. Yeah, remember that very first verse. And here is where our Angirasa is giving an answer. Know that only Akshara. Know that Akshara. That is all you need to know. Okay. So give all other useless talk. Just don't bother with all other useless talk of Aparavidya. Aparavidya of material acquisitions, properties, this and that will only take you to some extent and not beyond. All that we need from the Aparavidya is that we keep our faculties in good condition, that we keep our deha in a good condition so that we can do our sadhana. So that is the whole purpose of this particular body that we have. Because at the end of the day, as we saw it 2 weeks ago, our final destination of the sadhana sarira is pretty much the same for everyone. Either we go under the earth in a 6 feet by 4 feet, somebody is going to dig and put this body there, or this is going to be burnt and you are in a small vessel which is just ash, which is going to be dissolved somewhere. That is all to it. Whatever paravidya, aparavidya acquisition that we are going to do. So Angirasa is reminding us that Antaryamin is the most important thing. Tam eva ekam janata. Who is that? Atmanam. Anya vacho vimunchata. Leave all other useless talk. Why should we leave? Because Amrutasya Yesha Setuhu. Yesha means he who is the controller. This guy is the bridge. For whom? For us. Who are we? We are the Adhikarins or the Mumukshus. And what are we doing? We are trying to get out of this ocean called the samsara, and we want to cross this ocean and go over to the other side, which is the transempirical non-material plane. And for that, what do we need? We need knowledge of the Akshara. He is the bridge. Akshara is the bridge. He is going to hold our hands and take us on to the other side. Akshara will make us cross the samsara onto liberation. Provided we are able to follow this path of Dhanurgruhitva Upanishadam Mahastram Sharaihi Upasa Nishitam Sandadita Ayamya Tadbhavagatena Chetasa Lakshyam Tadeva Aksharam Somya Viddhi Pranavo Danuhu Sharohi Atma Brahmata Lakshamuchyate Apramattena Vedavyam Sharavat Tanmayo Bhavet. Okay. And then he said, even for this that we have to do, let us not fall into the trap of feeling that it is us who are doing independently all this prayatna. Purushakya prayatna is essential, but the Purushakya prayatna, the individual effort, is also under the control of the Supreme. He who thinks he is making an independent effort towards all this is doomed, because he gets ego. Once the ego comes, everything goes. Yeah. So we need to be very conscious and mindful of the basic fact that we are almost a puppet. Yeah, we did the Jiva Kartarutva in the last sessions to understand what it actually means. It is to understand that every aspect of us is under the control of Paramatma. Okay, and that is what this verse, the first half of this verse, reminds us when it says, Yasmin Dyav Prithvi cha Antariksham Otam. And we understood that Otam means what? Otatvachihi Omkaraha Uyate iti Om. Remember all that stuff. And he is the controller of our mind, which we have said needs to be sharpened. So here, even for our mind to be sharpened, we need his grace. For our eyes and ears and everything else to be, well focused, we need his grace. Without this, nothing is going to happen. Katha Upanishad captures very similar sentiments. Yes setu rijananam aksharam brahma yat param abhayam titirshitam param nachiketam shakemahi. Go back and check those beautiful verses which captures similar kind of ideas of Mundaka Upanishad. Okay, so today is the new verse for us today. So now again, what Angirasa is saying, after having spoken so much of the Antaryamin and the principles of the Antaryamin, which is a very key philosophy of Badarayana in his Brahma Sutra, here now he says, where is he well established? What is that guy doing as an Antaryamin? Okay, this is I believe a very, very interesting and an amazing verse. So what does it say? It says, Ara iva ratanabhav samhata yatra nadyaha sa esho antascharate bahuda jayamanaha om yityevam dhyayata atmanam swastivaha parayat tamasaha parastat. Beautiful verse. So he says, this Antaryamin, where is he? He is inside you. Yes, correct. But what is he doing? He is doing lots of stuff. But here is a very beautiful perspective that Angirasa gives, comparing a body to a chariot. And this is a very interesting metaphor that comes again and again. In Katha Upanishad, we are all very familiar, isn't it? Atmanam ratinam viddhi, sharidam ratamevatu. Buddhim tu sarathim viddhi manaha pragraham yevacha indriyan hayanahuhu vishayan teshu gocharan. We'll be very familiar with the various components of this chariot and how Nachiketa is being taught by Yama with regards to how do you consider this body as a chariot and how do you direct this either towards Shreyas or Prayas. So that philosophy we understood there, where the whole body is compared to a chariot. And then there is the Buddhi, who is the charioteer, and the Jiva, who is sitting in the chariot, is the rider of this chariot, who directs the Buddhi and asks it to go towards a particular direction, which could either be Shreyas or it could be Prayas. Okay, so that body as a ratham is again is a very it's a very frequent metaphor that is used in the Upanishads and also in the Bhagavad Gita. We know Krishna has also used similar, exactly the same metaphor as well. Here, what Angiras has taken is it's another very fascinating way of looking at this is this Antaryamin who is here inside you. What is his role in this chariot? Okay, that is an interesting way of looking at it. You are the soul who are there. Inside you is your Antaryamin, but what is his role in this chariot? Think about it. Is what Angirasa says. Ara iva ratanabo. So we to understand two things. So in the Upanishad times, there were lots of chariots. There were chariots all over the place. So Angirasa takes an example of the chariot and tells you what is the role of this Antaryamin who is inside you. And he takes, look at the example of a chariot. So the chariot has got various components, isn't it? So let us just focus on this wheel. Let us look at this wheel. So the wheel has got various spokes. These are called ara. So the spokes of the wheel is called ara. And the middle portion of this wheel is called nabhyam. Okay, nabho, as Angirasa says. So the metaphor that he's saying is araiva ratanabhau samhataha. How this whole chariot is held together. So this chariot is, how does this chariot move? There is this wheel. The wheel is held together by these spokes or the ara. And these aras are all held together by the middle portion of this wheel, which is called the nabya. Okay. So if this nabha is not there, the spokes are not going to be attached to anything. If the spokes are not there, this whole wheel is going to collapse. If this whole wheel collapses, this chariot is not going to move anywhere. So that is the gravity of the example that Angirasa is using here by actually taking this Nabha and this Ara as an example of this wheel, which in Katha Upanishad, Yama has already linked that as this Sadhana Sharira. So he says exactly how this Ara is held together by the Nabha. Araiva ratanabau samhataha yatra nadyaha. That is how all the nadis in your body, Shaunaka, all the nadis in your body are held together at this antaryamin level. Okay, beautiful explanation. So let us think about this wheel a little bit more, because when our rishis give metaphors, they just not only make the philosophy interesting, but they're actually giving us very deep philosophies in their metaphors. So this body is called Sapta Chakram. Okay? Seven, we have done all the philosophies of the seven, isn't it? Anybody wants to remind us what are the various philosophies of seven that we have done before? Who wants to go for this? Philosophy of the seven as this body. Think about Purusha Shukta. Yeah, Anand, go for it.
Is it the seven chakras and the seven endocrine glands, seven dhatus?
Yeah, beautiful, Anandji. Those are all some of the Sapta Chakram. That is chakras, you can say the chakras are all in this body, but also Saptasyasan Paridayaha Trishapta Samidaha Kritaha Deva Yadegyam Tanvanaha Abadnan Purusham Pashun. Think about that Purusha Shukta as well. 7 layers of this body, various dhatus, 7 layers, 7 chakras, and stuff that Anandji very beautifully mentioned. So in the Shastra, the body is called Sapta Chakram. Okay? A wheel with 7 spokes. Okay. Who is going to tell us? I've got an interesting quiz here. The Vitruvian man. Has anybody heard of this Vitruvian man? Who wants to go for it? It's a difficult quiz, but anyway, I thought I'll put it up. Who is the Vitruvian man? Who is exactly the Sapta Chakram of a man with a wheel around him? Okay. So this is the Vitruvian man. Anybody wants to say who it was or who painted this? No worries.
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
Leonardo.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Leonardo.
Okay, fantastic. So lots of very good answers about Leonardo da Vinci. So Leonardo da Vinci described this Vitruvian man, and he said the perfect man, where his arms and his legs, everything is symmetrical, and he's almost when he stretches out his hand and legs, it almost forms a circle. Okay, Vitruvian man of Leonardo da Vinci. I don't know if Leonardo has actually access to the Upanishads and the Vedas, because what he painted, the view of the Vedas is eons and eons before our Leonardo da Vinci wrote this, drew this picture of the Vitruvian man. Because that is what the Sapta Chakram is of the Vedas. The 7 spokes and the wheel, and there is the 7 spokes, there is the wheel, and then there is this Nabha. Okay. So how does this fit into all this equation? It sounds interesting and plausible. So this is where the beauty of Angirasa's philosophy actually is, where by taking this wheel, he directly goes to the nadis and the chakras, which is so popular in our current, popular philosophy. But in the Vedic times, these chakras and nadis had an entirely different connotations. So here Angirasa says, Ara iva ratanabho samhata yatra nadyaha. Just as how this chariot is held together, the wheel is held together by these spokes which are all stuck to this nabi. Similarly are all the nadis of your body that are held together by this antaryamin. Yeah, that is the role of this antaryamin. He is holding all your nadis. Okay, samhata yatra nadyaha. Okay, so of course the nadis, you have big nadis, isn't it? So let's just have a quick review of this. So you have the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna nadi. One way of doing it, and these nadis are all, there are various chakras that are stationed here. We know the 7 chakras, Sapta Chakram, and we also know the primary nadis, 3, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Well, of course, our rishis talk about there are innumerable number of energy lines or energy routes or energy networks, if you want to call them. They all form the various nadis. And our Shastras, of course, talk about 36,000 nadis on the right side, 36,000 nadis on the left side. Yeah. And, look at the Katha Upanishad. I just want to bring the Samanvaya here. So what does Katha Upanishad say? Shatam cha eka cha hridayasya nadyaha tasam murdanam abhiniks sukti ekaha. Thayor urdvam ayan amrutattvameti vishwanganya utkramane bhavanti. Okay, beautiful. So in Katha Upanishad, Yama has said, if you can recall that, he says that there are 101 nadis, guys. He says there are 101 nadis. Okay, what are those? 50 on the right, 50 on the left, and there is the one in the middle that is called a Sahasrara nadi. Then you have to expand that and say 36,000 nadis on the right, 36,000 nadis on the left. Yeah, Shatam cha eka. Okay, nadis emanating from mid portion of the body. Hrit means what? Mid portion of the body, where the jiva is. Inside is the antaryamin. Okay, so you bring these two together here. So when we look at this complicated pictures with various nadis that I picked it up from some article somewhere, and it talks about the 36,000 nadis on the right, 36,000 nadis on the left. So you can say all these thousands of nadis become 7. You can bring them all together as 7 nadis that are all stuck together, and these nadis are all being held together by this Nabhi, who is the Antaryamin. Okay, so we'll build this up in the subsequent slides as to what is it that Angirasa is talking to us here. So the Supreme pervades the 72,000 nadis. Okay, this is the basic dictum. He is all pervasive is axiomatic truth of Vedic philosophy. So in all these 72,000 nadis, this Paramatma is there in various forms, which we have done on so many occasions. 36 on the right and 36 on the left. And our philosophy also says that in the 36,000 on the right, he is in the male aspect. And in the 36,000 nadis on the left, he is in the feminine aspect. Okay, so the concepts of Ardhanari that again we are very familiar with in this forum, those ideas are all coming from our Upanishads and the Vedas. Okay, so hold on to that thought where Shapta Chakram is this body which is a Vitruvian man, and the nadis are all nadis which are primary channels of energies are held together in the mid portion of our body, and that is where this antaryamin is. So that is the idea there in this particular verse. What is this fellow doing there? He is right as your antaryamin, right in the middle. But what is it that he is doing? So this becomes very, very interesting. So he says, Ara iva ratanabau samhata yatra nadyaha sa eshaha antascharate bahuda jayamana. Okay, very, very clear statements. Sa eshaha antaha charate bahuda jayamana. So what that means is he's saying, so this person who is there inside holding all these nadis together, what else he is doing? He's not sitting there idly. Sa esho antascharate bahuda jayamanaha. Okay, here is a clear lesson of Angirasa. This Brahman is not a useless, inert, nirguna, actionless entity. Okay, very clear the language. He is not an inert, nirguna, actionless, useless entity. No, please don't think like that. What is Angirasa saying? Atharva Veda is saying, Sa Eshaha, this controller, Antaha Charate, he is doing a lot of stuff. Charate, Antaha, inside you, Charate, he is doing a lot of stuff. Bahuda Jayamanaha, in various forms. He is doing so many activities in your body. Okay, is what Angirasa is saying in this particular verse. So there is no way anybody can, at least from an Angirasa's philosophy, accuse Brahman of being inert, actionless, nirguna entity. Let us not fall into that trap of some schools. Angirasa's language is supremely clear here. Sa eshaha antaha charate bahuda jayamanaha. How does he do this? Let us look at Mandukya Upanishad. We have done that, isn't it? Now, what are all the 4 states of consciousness of Mandukya Upanishad? So who wants to take this up for us? It's there in the slide here. Anybody wants to take about this 4 states of consciousness of the jiva that is controlled by this Antaryamin who is inside the jiva? Anybody wants to take this up, please?
Para Pashyanti Madhyama Vaigiri.
Yeah.
No, that is different, is it? That is for the walk.
Yeah, so Sudarshan, thanks Sudarshan for your contribution. So that is slightly different. So this is, we are looking at the conscious states of the jivas.
Yeah, Duriyam, Duryaditam, like that it comes. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Excellent. Anybody else?
Jagrati sthana.
Yeah.
So that's the wakeful state. Swapna sthana, dream state. And Shushupti is deep sleep or dreamless. And then the 4th is Turiya.
Fantastic, Shishu. Thank you very much. Jagrati sthano bahihi prajnaha saptangaha ekona vimshati mukaha stula buk vaishwanaraha pratamaha padaha. Swapnasthano antah prajnaha saptangaha ekona vimshati mukaha pravivikta buk tejasa dvitiha padaha. Yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate na kashtana swapnam pashyati tat shushuptam. Shushupti sthanaka eki bhutaha prajnana gana eva. What is the 4th stage? The 4th stage is na antaha prajnam, na bahihi prajnam, na ubayataha prajnam, na prajnanaganam, na prajnam, na aprajnam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, achintyam, alakshyam, and so on. It talks about the 4th state. So these 4 states of the jiva that is discussed in the Mandukya Upanishad, here our Mundaka Upanishad in Angirasa says, Sa eshaha antascharate bahuda jayamanaha. How does these states of consciousness are there? And Anandji was talking about all the various glands and chakras, right? So you have the Agna chakra, you have the Vishuddha chakra, and you have the Anahata chakra. Agna chakra corresponding to the pineal gland. Vishuddha chakra corresponding to the thyroid gland. Anahata chakra corresponding to the thymus gland. Okay, and the philosophy of Mandukya Upanishad, where Varuna in the Manduka form is teaching this philosophy, right? He is talking about this philosophy where it says this Antaryamin, he moves about doing and controlling the various states of the jivas. That is what here Angirasa says, Eshaha antaha charate bahuda jayamanaha. How does he do? In the pineal gland, when he is there, he controls the wakeful state, that is the Jagrati sthanaha. Then in the night time, when we go to sleep, he moves to the Vishuddha chakra, and then he controls the state of the jivas in the dream state. Then in the deep sleep, he is there in the thymus gland, where he is controlling the dreamless state. Then, of course, there is the 4th state, which is the Turiya, which is the nada of akara, and that is the moksha sthiti, which is also described in the Mandukya Upanishad. In these 4 states, he is moving about, controlling your states of consciousness. Prakashji.
Just one small thought flashed in my mind.
normally, when we say that the spiritual energy should come from Mooladhara to Sahasra, but interestingly here, it is going downwards.
Yeah, good observation, Prakash. I think it depends on in what context you're thinking about. So of course your Mooladhara, the bottommost thing is where we are all currently based. So this is our bottommost primordial, primeval states of consciousness where we are eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, that kind of approach to life. So that view there is, we have to lift up our consciousness from one state to above and then eventually go to Sahasrara and then you go out. That is there are two ayanas, right? Devayana and Pitruyana. Devayana is through the Sahasranadi. And then our Katha Upanishad has said here, Tesham Urdhvam Ayan Amrutatvameti. The one that goes through this particular nadi will go to Amrutva. That is a Devayana. Whereas all others, Vishwanganya Utkramane Bhavanti, they go round and round in circles. So I think Prakash, it's a very, very interesting observations about the states of consciousness from bottommost to the highest with the Sahasrara. But here it feels like it is coming down. But remember, this is a cycle, right? This is an everyday activity. We are in the Vishuddha Chakra in deep sleep. Then we will go up in the dreamless sleep. We are here in Anahata Chakra. And then the conscious states, then in the Vishuddha Chakra, it goes up. Then when you are in Agna Structure, when you are wakeful state, it is high. What we have to do is from wakeful state, we have to jump on to Sahasrara. Okay, so it is a cycle, but we may have to go up. So when you look at Agna, Vishuddha, Anahata, I agree with you. It feels like you're coming down, but actually it is a cycle, isn't it? Every day we go through the cycle of these three, we are circling around this. And of course,
and also, Madhu, I thought this is more a passive process. What the other person is saying is an active process to bring up from Mooladhara. This is such a cycle, like every day it happens, like sleep, wakefulness, and everything. So it's anything which is normal will pull you down. If you have to go against proactively, you have to push it up, So that's the sort of
agreed. Thank you, Sudarshan and Prakashji. Very, very interesting observation. So what is going on here? So he says that, guys, don't think this Brahman is a useless entity. He's doing a lot of stuff. That is the first I need to stress here. Let us not make that fundamental mistake. Yeah. Sa eshaha antaha charate bahuda jayamanaha. And we need to think about what are all the bahuda jayamanaha he is doing. Is he just holding all the nadis and then making them work, or he is doing all the other stuff? And that is what our rishis want to think about. And this is the beauty of the Upanishad philosophy. So look at this. We have the Vyuha forms, right? So who is going to quickly tell us what are the Vyuha forms of Narayana? What are the Vyuha forms? So you have Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshana, Vasudeva, and Narayana. The Vedic philosophy of 5, here 100%. If you look at Brahmanda, okay, think about Brahmanda, why there are all the 5s? Why there are 5s? Why there are 5 tanmatras, pancha tanmatras, pancha bhutas, pancha pranas, pancha upapranas? Why there are? Because this is representative of the 5 forms of Narayana who is inside them, giving them their reality and making them do their things. Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshana, Vasudeva, Narayana. 5. Philosophy of 5 in 5 tanmatras, 5 bhutas, 5 pranas, 5 upapranas. And that is why there are 5 kundas. Vedic Yajna has got 5 kundas. Yeah. Ahavaniya, Dakshinagni, Garhapatya, Pranita, Avasatya. 5 kundas in Vedic Agnis, not because they had lots of place and they just had a pastime making these fire pits. No, that 5 is everywhere in the universe. 5 Jnana Indriyas, 5 Karma Indriyas, 5 Koshas. Okay. And what did our Taittiriya Upanishad say? So akamayatu bahusyam prajayeti sa tapo atapyata sa tapastaptva idam sarvam asrujata yadidam kinchatat srushva tadeva anupravishata. So this guy is in every aspect of Brahmanda and also your Pindana in your 5 koshas. And what is he doing? Sa antaha charate bahuda jayamanaha in infinite forms. Yes, Sheilaji, Manjunathji?
Madhu, it's really surprising, isn't it? We learned about Trivrit Karana. This looks like Panchi Karana, isn't it? Prapancha, Panchi Karana. 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah. So that's very nice, Shilaji. Remember that Trivit Karana is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Yeah, that's Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and then the mixing of the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas is their Abhimani Devatas, and they're mixing up and bringing this creation together, which was, as of course, as you rightly pointed out, discussed in chapter 6 of Chandogya Upanishad. Thank you, Shilaji. So 555, he is there. Bahuda Jayamanaha, Sa Antashtarate Bahuda Jayamanaha. Look at the Vedic philosophy of 24. Yeah, we have done that right in Brahmanda. There are 24 entities. Mula Prakriti, Mahat, Ahankara Tattva, Panchabhuta, Panchatanmatra, Jnana Indriyas, Karma Indriyas, Manas, everything put together 24. When we do our Sandhya Vandana or whatever pujas, we say 24 names of Paramatma. Who wants to give us the 24 names? Who wants to recite the 24 names today, please? It's there in the slide. Anybody wants to go for that? So Keshava, Narayana, Madhava, Govinda, Vishnu, Madhusudana, Trivikrama, Vamana, Sridhara, Hrishikesha, Padmanabha, Damodara, Sankarshana, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Purushottama, Adokshaja, Narasimha, Achyuta, Janardana, Upendra, Hari, and Krishna. 24 we say. Why? He is there in those names, in those forms, in those 24 tattvas of Brahmanda, and further elaboration of all the fives in various components of Brahmanda and Pindanda. What is he doing? Sa eshaha antascharate bahuda jayamanaha. He is not an inert, useless entity. He is inside you, in your body. Araiva ratanabo yatra samhataha yatra nadyaha. Like how he is holding your nadis. Okay. Similarly, he is holding everything else in the Brahmanda and Pindanda. Who will not want to worship him? Yeah. So that is where it says, Araiva ratanabo samhata yatra nadyaha sa esho antascharate bahuda jayamanaha. We have not finished yet. And Shilaji was mentioning about Trivit Karana and so on. So there are threes. Kunda, Pinda, and Kala. 360 bones with their marrows, 360 joints, 180. That is another upasana that we celebrate. Why on earth do we have to recite Vishnu Sahasranama? Why is it important? 1,000 names. Yes, Sahasra means can also be infinite names. But why 1,000? We have done this when we have done Katha Upanishad, where we think about 1,000 forms and 1,000 names of Paramatma for certain contemplation. He does not have just 1,000. He's got infinite names, of course. But for limited beings like this, we just need to use something to contemplate, right? So look at Vishnu Sahasranama. 1,000 plus 80 syllables are there. 80 or Chakara, Eva, and so on. But there are 1,000. Look at Brihati Sahasra of Rigveda. It is a very, very important stuff. Brihati Chandas is 36. Sahasra means 1,000. 36 times 1,000 is 36,000. 36 Swaras, 36,000. Vyanjanas. What does that become? 72,000. That should ring something. Why 72,000? These nadis. 36,000 nadis on this side, 36,000 nadis on the other side, making 72,000. Brihati Sahasra talks about it. Vishnu Sahasranama celebrates all this. Okay. So, Antaha Charate Bahuda Jayamanaha, as we said, Ardhanarishwara. So, the Vedic philosophy is there is an entity called independent Ardhanarishwara. There is only one independent entity that we have understood. Swatantram, Aswatantram cha dvividam tattvamishyate swatantro Bhagavan Vishnu. That Bhagavan Vishnu has got 36,000 forms on the right side in the male form and 36,000 in the 36,000 nadis on the left side in the feminine form. That is the independent Ardhanarishwara that is described in the Vedic philosophy. And there are Vishnu's Ardhanarishwara temple in north of India, Vaikunta Kamalaja. I don't know if anybody has gone to those temples in north of India. We don't see it in other parts, but in north there are some Ardhanarishwara temple of Vishnu. And of course, Shiva and Shakti is very popular from a Puranic perspective. But the Vedic philosophy says that Ardhanari is independent. His Ardhanarishwara is dependent on the on the Purusha. So he is there everywhere, controlling every aspect of this Brahmanda and Pindanda. So Araiva Ratanabhau, Yatra Samhataha, Yatra Nadyaha, Sa Esho Antascharate Bahuda Jayamanaha. That is why Shaunaka Om iti evam dhyayata atmanam. Okay? Just know this fellow as Om. Yeah. Then your deal and your job is done in the samsara. Om iti evam. Look at this. Evam only. Om iti evam dhyayata. Do that meditation about this Om. Who is he? He is your Atmanam. So Om, Brahman, Akshara, Vishnu, Narayana, Atma, that comes again and again in our satsang and in the scriptures, they talk about the same entity, who is that omnipresent being, yeah, who is everywhere in the universe and also inside you. Antarbahishta tat sarvam vyapya Narayana stitaha. Yeah. Foundational truth. Then next it becomes very interesting when we finish. Hopefully we'll finish this verse in today's satsang. And he says, yeah, Om iti evam dhyayata atmanam. Why do you have to do this dhyana? Swastivaha paraya tamasaha parastat. There are two ways of reading this. Swastivaha paraya tamasaha parastat. Swastivaha paraya tamasaha parastat. So there are two ways of reading this. So the Upanishads gives us two ways of understanding this verse. So let's think about the first one, which is very interesting for us and which we are very familiar. And that is why the Samanvaya is beautiful. Upanishad, Gita, Sutra saying the same thing. What is it saying? Swastivaha paraya tamasaha parastat. So if you look like that, tamasaha, what is tamas? Tamas means jada prakriti. Yeah, so your Nasadiya Sukta says before creation, tama asid. Okay, so we will do Nasadiya Sukta is one of my favorite suktas of Rig Veda, which is a master stroke of pre-creation stage that brings up deep philosophy, where it says tama asid. Tamas was there before creation. What is the tamas? Jada prakriti, mula prakriti, tamasaha. Then look at this, tamasaha parastat. There is something which is superior to tamas. That is jada prakriti. Who is that? Chetana prakriti. Shri Tattva or Lakshmi. She is called tamasaha parastat. Of course, in Gita, she is called Kutasto Akshara. Then here, Angirasa says there is another entity which is superior to us. Tamasaha parastat paraya. So there is an entity that is superior to Lakshmi, guys. That is this Om. He is Vishnu. Yeah. So this is beautiful. That sequence is exactly what Vedavyasa has given to us in chapter 15, right? 16th verse. So who is going to take this? Our famous verse. Who wants to go for this verse of 16, please?
I can.
Yeah, go for it. Managashi.
द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः.
Thank you very much, Panagashi. Beautifully recited. Thank you. So that particular 16th verse is so foundational because that is what Angirasa is saying, who this Om is. That he is Swastivaha Paraya Tamasaha Parastat. This Vishnu is Tamasaha Parastat Paraya. He is Para means higher than what? Tamasaha Parastat. Okay. Lakshmi, Shri Tattva is Tamasaha Parastat. And of course, we are all useless, useless entities. Chaturmukha may be a big guy, but we are all useless sitting around doing nothing here. So we are all the others. So we are interested in knowing Shri Tattva, Lakshmi Tattva, and Vishnu. Yeah, that is why we say Lakshmi Narayanan. Wherever there is Lakshmi, there is Narayanan. You see those birds, they're always together. Lakshmi and Narayana are always together. Yeah. So Tamasaha Parastat Paraha. Okay, that is also another, as Raghavendra Tirtha, for example, is in Upanishad Kandata, he gives an understanding Aprakruta Vigraha. So he is beyond material forms. Arupavad evahi tad darshanat, as Sutra Badarayana says. This guy Vishnu is completely non-material. Yeah. So Swastivaha. So this particular verse of 16th verse of chapter 15 is foundational. If we don't understand the 16th verse, or if we don't understand the essence of the 16th verse and run our life, we don't have any hope, says the Vedas. Okay. Why? Because Swastivaha, may this knowledge bestow goodness on you. What is that knowledge? That there is the Chada Prakriti, that there is the Chetana Prakriti, and beyond these two is the Vishnu. That is what our Shvetashvatara Upanishad said, isn't it? This Jada Prakriti is called what? Agnya. Then you have the Nya. Then there is the Deva. He is the third one who is independent of everything. So our philosophers, our rishis constantly remind us, think about this, think about this, think about this, always day in, day out, 24/7. And understand how dependent and useless you are. Yet you think you are the center of the universe. That is what they want us to, contemplate. So that is the first meaning of this. Look at the second one, which is quite popular and very, very interesting, of course. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, in the previous kandas, you might remember this verse, which also comes in Katha Upanishad. Okay. Avidyayam antare vartamanaha swayam diraha panditam manyamanaha janganyamanaha pariyanti mudaha andenaiva niyamana yata andaha. So what are we doing at this point? We are all running this samsara in this fence called avidya, ignorance. So that is another meaning of tamas. Tamas also indicates avidya or ignorance, darkness. Ignorance is darkness. So what are we all doing? We are all sitting in this fence. We think this avidya or the ignorance or the tamas, in this ignorance of what our destination is, why we have come, where are we going. We have none of this. We are all fully ignorant, but yet we think we are very, very secure in this fence of avidya. And we are all stuck in this samsara, because of this whole problem of avidya, which is also called tamas. Okay. So our Angirasa says, if you want to get rid of this fence, if you want to get rid of this avidya or tamas, the only route for you is Om ityeva dhyayata atmanam. Okay. Paraya tamasaha parastad. If you want to cross this samsara or this avidya or ignorance, if you want to paraya, if you want to cross this from darkness, if you want to move to light. Yeah. And do what? And move to light means what? What is that light? Swasti. Look at that word swasti. Swa asti. Swa. Swa means self. Self-realized. Swa also means swatantra. Swatantro Bhagavan Vishnuhu. That swatantra is also called swa. Asti. You go there. Where? Where this swatantra Paramatma there is there. Who is that moksha? Okay. Omityeva dhyayata atmanam swastivaha paraya tamasas parastad. Who wants to take up the Shanti mantra for us? Who wants to recite this? Very popular Shanti mantra here. Asato ma sadgamaya. Anybody wants to do that? No problem.
Shall I?
Okay, Sheila ji, go for it. Yeah, thank you.
Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Beautiful, Sheila ji. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this particular Shanti mantra essentially summarizes what is it that Angirasa is telling us here. Om ityevam dhyayata atmanam swastivaha paraya tamasaha parastat. That is what the Shanti mantra says. Let us go from darkness towards light. Let us go from the samsara with its mrityu to eternality, which is amrutam. How are we going to be able to do this? The only way of doing this is Om iti evam dhyayata atmanam. then you will, and once you, Om is not just like Alexa, as Suresh reminded us. It is not like Alexa saying Om, Om, Om. No, when we do that Om iti evam dhyayata, the anusandhana should be there of who that Om is. What is that entity? What are all the things he does for us? What is his role in Brahmanda, Pindanda? What are the various components of Om? What is it in the Akhanda form? What are the 2 components? What are the 3 components? 4 components? 6 components, 8 components. How is that Om becomes Vyahriti and then becomes Gayatri, then becomes Purusha Shukta, then the 3 Vedas, and all the sounds of the universe, and how they all celebrate the greatness of this Paramatma. And that Sarva Shabda Vachyatva philosophy, put that all together and understand who this big guy is, and then look up to him and do a devotional service to him. And then at some point, he will shower his grace on you. That is the philosophy that Angirasa is talking about this. Okay. So once he has said this, maybe we will do this particular verse and close today's session. Om ityevam dhyayata atmanam swastivaha paraya tamasaha parastad. For that tamasaha parastad, if you want to cross that ignorance, the fence of ignorance that we have just discussed, if you want to cross this darkness onto light, if you want to cross ignorance to enlightenment or knowledge, what do you have to understand this Omkara is? Yes sarvajnaha sarvavid yasya esha mahima bhuvi divye brahmapure hi esha vyomni atma pratishtitaha. Okay, very, very beautiful words. And the same, you may remember this verse, yes sarvajnaha sarvavid, in Mundaka Upanishad in a slightly different context. Tapasa chiyate brahma tato annam abhijayate annat prano manaha satyam lokaha karmashu cha amrutam yas sarvajnaha sarvavid yasya jnanamayam tapaha tasmad etad brahma nama rupam annam cha jayate. So remember this verse and see this verse. Some of the words are very, very similar, but the contexts are very different. Okay, so I just wanted to remind you here, the context in the very first section, when in the first Mundaka, where it was talking about creatorship of Brahman. Okay, this is another very, very important verse of Vedic philosophy, where he says, this Brahman's creation is not some avidya superimposition that becomes this universe. No, this is tapasachiyate Brahma. Brahman thought, and when he thought, creation happened. Okay, what is his thought? Yes, sarvajnaha. His thought is full of jnana. Yeah, and then he created. Yes, sarvajnaha sarvavid yasya jnanamayam tapaha. In the previous verse, he said tapasachiyate brahma. Here he has said jnanamayam tapaha. We get illusion only in ignorance. Whereas here it says Jnanamayam. He is thinking full of knowledge. When we think there is ignorance in whatever we think. But Brahman does not wake up one day and said, okay, let me have a superimposition and let me imagine and bring a universe. No, that is not what Taittiriya Upanishad says. That is not what Mundaka Upanishad says. There may be folks out there who may want to think otherwise. It is their problem. But the language of the Upanishads is very clear in this context, where it said, this Brahman's creatorship is full of jnana. There are some folks that think for Brahman to become a sarvajna, he needs to have ignorance superimposed of him. Okay. Good luck to them. I don't know where to start that kind of philosophy. For Brahman has to be superimposed with ignorance so that he becomes sarvajna. Okay. This is very fancy stuff. Crazy stuff, but that is not what Mundaka Upanishad is saying, that this guy is sarvajnaha, sarvavid, yasya jnanamayam tapaha. In that context, okay, his tapas is full of knowledge and his creatorship is not an illusion. Here, we have to see the prakarana, contextual relevance, which becomes very important in the Upanishad Chintana. Om ityevam dhyayata atmanam swastivaha paraya tamasaha parastad. For you to cross that ignorance and go to enlightenment and moksha, know this fellow is yes sarvajnaha sarvavid. Only if you know somebody as omniscient and omniscient, if only I pray somebody as you are omniscience, you are omniscience, then I stand of chance of becoming knowledgeable as per my capacity. If I pray, you are useless, you are inert, you are nirguna, you are a useless entity, you are still there, some superimposition happening. What is the purpose of you? You are useless, you are useless. If we do that upasana, we become useless. Okay? Tam yata yata upasate tam tataiva bhavati, says the Shastras. As you do upasana, so you become. So we have to do that upasana of this Omkara as Sarvajnaha. Otherwise, there is no point. That is what Angirasa is saying. You do that upasana, but understand he is Sarvajnaha. Only then you can cross over your ignorance. Okay? So that is Sarvajnaha, we understand. And then he also uses this word called Sarvavid. We got 5 minutes to do this, and let's do that and close today's session. He is Sarvavid. Yes, Sarvajnaha, Sarvavid. Yes, Sarvajnaha, Sarvavid here in the initial phase, and now also Sarvavid. When you look at it superficially, it's actually, this is tautology. This is like Punarukti, saying the same thing again and again. Sarvajnaha and Sarvavid appears very similar. Sarvajnaha means omniscient. And if we don't understand the language of the Vedas and the Rishis, Sarvavid also becomes like Sarvajnaha. So why should Angirasa put two words there? Or why should he include two words in that context? No, that Sarvavid has an entirely different etymology in this situation. Yaha, this Vishnu is Sarvajnaha, and he is also Sarvavit. Sarvatra vidyate Sarvavit. He is omnipresent. Sarvam vindati. He has attained everything. There is nothing that he has not attained. He is aptakama, omnipotent. That is another meaning of Sarvavit. Sarvam vingte Sarvavit. Vida vicharane. So Vida dhatu has got so many meanings. We don't have to go into that. One of the dhatus is called Vida vicharane. That is also called Vingte, Sarvam Vingte, Vida Vicharane, Sarvavid. That is, he looks after our yoga and kshema of everyone. Okay. That is why in the 9th chapter, Krishna puts this verse 22. So let's close that session, today's session, by reciting that verse and think about what does that yoga and kshema actually mean. So who wants to take that verse 9:22, please? Jagdish, go.
Yeah, Pradyumna wants to take it. This is Pradyumna.
Yeah,
Ananyaschintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham.
Beautifully recited. So who is going to tell us what is the meaning of yoga and kshema? Vahami aham. I give yoga and kshema to all the souls. Sarvavit, as Angirasa has said in this particular verse. So what is that yoga and kshema? So who is going to tell us that? Who is going to describe us what is yoga and kshema in that verse, please? Jagdish ji, go for it. Okay, so yeah, Jagdish. Sheila ji, go for it. Yeah.
I think what he says is, I carry what you don't have and I keep what you have.
Yeah, thank you, Manjunath ji. So yoga means give you what you don't have, and kshema means protect what you already possess. Yeah, so yoga, he is going to give you that yoga and kshema. What is the yoga that you're going to have? You're currently in this samsara, right? And you have to cross over and move on to the enlightenment that you don't have now. He is going to give you. That is your yoga. And kshema looks after you, not only iha, but also in para. Look after all the aspects of you given by this Paramatma. So ananyas chintayanto ma ye janaha pariupasate tesham nitya abhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Omityeva dhyayata atmanam swastivah paraya tamasah parastad yah sarvajnaha sarvavid. Okay. Then, of course, there is a beautiful verse Yasya esha mahima bhuvi. Let's do that line and close. This is such a beautiful verse. I don't want to not do this. Let's spend 4 minutes to do this. He says, he is Sarvajnaha, he is Sarvavid. How do you know that he is Sarvajnaha, Sarvavid? Yes, you can study the Vedas and Shastras and so on. But he also says, look at this universe. Yasya, Yesha, Mahima, Bhuvi. You don't have to go very far. Yeah, just look at this universe. Look at the universe in front of you. Yad Yasya Esha Mahima Bhui. Esha, I told you, Isha, Ishanaha, Narayana Ityartaha. Paramatma. The all-controlling independent principle is called Isha. The all-controlling independent God's greatness is Mahima. Mahima means greatness. How do you know this? Bhuvi, understand by this created universe. When you see this universe in front of you, understand the greatness of this Paramatma. Let alone some folks think that this universe is mithya, maya, illusion. It does not exist. How sad. Our Angirasa here is saying, look at this universe and understand the greatness of Paramatma. Why? That is why our Brahma Sutra says, Atato Brahma Jignasa, make an inquiry into this Brahman. Who is this Brahman? Janmadhyasya yataha. He is the creator of this universe. What does that creation of the universe mean? Skanda Purana. Utpatti sthiti samhara niyatir jnanam avrittihi bandha moksha cha purushat yasmat sa harirekarat. Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmadhyasya yato anvayat. That is the definition. Creatorship of the universe and this created universe. Why? When you look at this created universe, you understand his greatness, Mahima. Because what is it that you understand? That he is Sarvajnaha, he is omniscient, that he is omnipotent, he is omnipresent, he looks after every damn thing of this Pindanda and Brahmanda, Sarvavid. And understand this by looking at this great universe. Okay, Taittiriya Upanishad, we all know these great verses, isn't it? We have done this before. Tamho vacha yato va imani bhutani jayanti yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisamvishanti tad vijignyasasva tad brahmeti. That Brahman means creator of the universe. Creator of the real universe. He is not a creator of mithya universe. Nobody says your art is amazing. That is a false art and you are a great artist. What you have painted is an illusion. It is a great mithya art, but you are a great artist. Nobody is going to say this. The damn art should be real for anybody to say that that Mona Lisa picture is very beautiful. That Mona Lisa picture has to be there. That is what Jayatirtha said. Janmadhyasya yataha iti bhagavata sutrakarena jagat udayadi nimitta karanatvam parasya brahmano lakshanam abhihitam. Nacha jagat satyatamantarena tad vastavam sambhavati. Profound words of Acharya Jayatirtha. And our Srimad Acharya in Dwadasha Stotra, what did he say? Bahuchitra Jagat, Bahuda Karanat, Parashaktihi, Ananta Gunaha, Paramaha. That is what this Angirasa has said. Yes, Sarvajnaha, Sarvavid. Yasya Yesha Mahima Bhuvi. Understand his greatness by looking at this universe. The very fact that we are existing in this amazing universe is a miracle. And this universe is a miracle because this great person has created this. This Bahuchitra Jagat, this varied universe, it is so intricate, so beautiful, so complicated. Bahuda Karanat. Somebody great has created it. Who is this? Parashaktihi. He is supreme, omnipotent being. Ananta Gunaha. He is full of infinite, auspicious attributes. Not a nirguna, useless entity. He is full of infinite, auspicious, material attributes. Paramaha. Okay. And of course, in Mandukya Upanishad, we have seen all these various 3 reasons of creations. What are the 4 views of creations? And our Varuna has resolved this. Icha matram prabho srishti vinishtitaha. That is a definite opinion. Swapna maya rupeti srishti riti vikalpitaha. Those who think this world is a dream, they are dreaming. Vikalpa. Vikalpa means that is ignorance. Icha matram prabhoshishti. What is this icha? Jnanamayam tapaha. That jnana is what? Yes, sarvajnaha. So when you understand and put everything together, the language of Angirasa is very beautifully clear here. That this is a real universe. This guy has created this real universe, and you understand his greatness. Yesha Mahima by looking at this universe, Bhuvi, because he is Sarvajnaha. Okay. Such a Sarvajnaha is in Brahmapura, is the next line. So what we will do next week is we pick up this line. Divyo Brahmapurehi Esha Vyomni Atma Pratishtitaha. And then there we look at, let's look at the whole philosophy of Antaryamin as described by Badarayana in various adhyayas of Brahma Sutra. He has done so many sutras for Antaryamitva. Understanding the philosophy of Antaryamin, bringing all the Upanishads as Vishaya Vakya. So that itself tells us when somebody is inside something, when I go inside somebody's house, that means the house should be there and I go inside the house. Because I go inside the house, I do not become the house or the house does not become me. There is the house, there is the person who is going inside it. Similarly, there is the Jiva and then there is the Antaryamin, which is being described by Badarayana and also in this verse. Divye Brahmapure hi esha vyomni atma pratishtitaha. So we will we are getting into in a very, very interesting section of this Antaryami philosophy, which Angirasa is sort of bringing to some kind of a logical conclusion before he goes to Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakaya Samana Vriksham Parishashva Jate. That comes eventually. So we will look forward to that and we will do all justice to all these verses over the next few weeks. Okay. So thanks for joining us for today's Chintana. So we carry on with our contemplation. If there are any other questions, we can take it up at this point. Otherwise, Sri Krishna Pranamastu. And we can close today's session. Thank you very much. Brilliant. So if there are no further questions, shall I call upon one of us to recite Omkara, please? So Suresh ji, if you are there, do us Om and close today's session.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Let's catch up next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.